Alright, so we should be connected now. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out my stream. This one here, I was just wanted to try something a little bit different today, mix it up. UMMO RPG is a asset. It was pretty good one. I've had it for a little while and played around with it with a few different projects. Just recently was a part of the Humble bundle, the Humble Unity bundle. So $15 and you get this. It's normally like $90 worth, so definitely a bargain. And it is actually a really great template to really sort of pump out a quick MMO prototype, and you can obviously build on it from there. Wanted to today just sort of go through, see how far I get for starting from basically the start of things, maybe showing off a few little tips and that I know about trying to build it up and replacing little bits of the template. So one of the first things I'm going to do is actually open up the world scene, and I will actually have to jump off in about 10 minutes, and then I'll get back into it. What I want to do is I want to find the thing. I've got a whole bunch of other assets on here that I'm going to be using as well. They're mostly art assets. We want to find a scene, open up the world scene, and just give it. It's going to take a little while to load. I've actually got a lot of other projects going. My hard drives are down to about only a few gigabyte left on each drive, so running out of space. And so this is just the start scene. If you haven't used UMMO RPG before, definitely give it a play. It basically works straight off the bat, and you've got characters that can run around and do stuff. You can build it out to a server and run it off that. But I'm going to just go through straight away and just start deleting the stuff that I don't need. So I'm going to get rid of the entire environment because I'm going to use my own. I'm going to leave the canvas. The light we're going to change later, but we'll leave for now. All of this stuff here, network time and even to the field, we're all going to leave that. We're going to select all the extra skeletons. I'm going to leave the bandit and the skeleton there because they're going to be my template monsters that I'm going to build the rest of the monsters off, as well as the alchemist because that's the template NPC we're going to use. So now you can see we haven't really got much else in there. It's just the canvas and these parts. If we come up to navigation, it's already got a nav mesh. I'm actually going to just clear that out now. So it won't work without a nav mesh. You need to have a nav mesh down so the players can spawn. Otherwise you'll get too many errors. Now I'm going to just do the cheeky easy way by coming to my haunted town scene here. And I'm actually going to drag demo scene onto the current scene. And what this will do is it's actually going to side load the demo and the world scene together, so they're both going to be on the same thing. And then I can just drag the bits and pieces that I need into my main scene, and then I'll save it out to a new scene. So once that loads up, yep, so you can see it's got everything there that we need. Cool. Collider, geometry, lights, main light, particle cloth. If I turn that off, what do we get? So yeah, not a super amount of change. If I turn off this directional light, yeah, it looks a little bit better, so we can now actually just delete that one entirely. And I'm going to go to the collider. FPC is actually the first person controller. We don't need that, so we're going to delete that. Particle cloth, yep, so that's going to handle the banners and stuff. The main light again, extra lights, they're all there, the geometry and collider. Just going to, actually in here, we're going to create game object, create empty, and we're just going to call this environment. So much just sort of replacing what was already there, and we're just going to drop that as a child so that I can move it all together and keep it that way. Then I'm going to unload scene. Don't want to save it because I've obviously moved everything out of it, so I'm just going to take it out, and you can see all these will stay here now in this new scene. Just wait for that to happen. Oh, actually I think I can just remove scene, sorry. So yeah, so unload the scene and then remove it, doesn't really matter. Dog going off in the background, that's cool. So now we've got our new scene and we've got a whole bunch of stuff to pop on top of it, and we've got all this stuff here, but we don't have a nav mesh to bake anything on it. So one of the first things that I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to fix up this environment because there's a lot of gizmo stuff going on here too that I don't quite like. If I can take off the 3D, oh no, wait, put the 3D icons back on, that made it much worse. We'll take off the grid, selection, outline, we'll keep that on. You can switch off all the different bits and pieces here, but it's going to take me a year to do that. I'm not going to be bothered. I just want to sort of tidy it up a bit, so I'm going to bring these down so that they are on the ground level. Even if they're not starting on the ground level, if they're within a certain range, they'll actually appear on the nav mesh where you pop them. But I'm just going to make sure that they're not colliding into objects like the alchemist is here. So let's move him around the corner. Yeah, he can just sit out on the street corner, no worries. Then everything else, we need the respawn and the respawn points, which are all over here. So where's my respawn itself? So yeah, the respawn will end up having a bit of issue, so we're just going to pop it down here. It's hard to tell because it doesn't have an actual 3D object on it, so you can always put a cube on it. That's not a bad idea to do, but for purposes of this I'm not going to. And then we're going to have them so that when you die you actually respawn behind this stuff here. Alright, cool. So now that we've got that, we need to bake a basic nav mesh. If I can click on this, what does this have? Static? Yeah, everything's static and good to go. Let's just see what happens if we bake this by itself. Or actually, is there already a nav mesh? Oh, so one of the things I want to do is save it to something else. So we're actually going to save scene as. We're not going to save it to the same scene because we want to keep that scene as normal. So we've just got world. I'm just going to call this one world dirty, just to show that I've sort of edited it. And if we save that, yeah, let's go to the new scene. We're just going to bake. We'll see how that goes. Might take a little while because we've got a lot of stuff in the scene. No, didn't take too long at all. We've obviously got to have a bit of issues with like these sorts of surfaces have a nav mesh on them. Our player's obviously not going to make it up there. We're also going to have other issues too, like this here. The step height, you know what? Let's change that to a lot lower. Let's go 25. See whether that helps reduce some of that clutter. Yeah, so that's sort of taken it down a little bit. We can still get up onto the footpath, I hope, but only at one location, so that's also no good for us. What I've got is I've got a nav mesh extension, which is another asset that's available, and I can use that to actually draw by hand the nav mesh, which is a little bit annoying because it's going to be hard to do because we've got all these little corners and alcoves and that here, but it will help me fix up a lot of these issues where we've got steps that raise up a bit too high. Although what's the max slope? So maybe I can drop that slope down to say 20 and see how that goes. Slightly better, but you see we get these sort of little issues here where we're going up on a ramp, and you'll notice that when we actually move around as a character, it might give us a little bit of hardship. But we could figure that out later. For now, this will work. I'm actually just going to run this as well. I'll see how that plays. And this is the first time running it, so it might take a little bit to load up. Hey, admin, and then server and play. And we're just going to use the default warrior stuff here, so I'm just going to go woo lad. Click to create. There we go. And select. Now this should spawn us where we need to spawn. As you can see, we've got a lot of stuff in the way. Oh, there's like a whole room up there that I can see through. So we'd have to figure out collision stuff for the camera and how to do that. But you can see now we can move around in our new environment, and we've got a nice pre-built medieval town. Things aren't the greatest scale. As you can see, our character's not really the kind of scale that he should be for the environment, so we can figure that out when we create our new character, either make him a little bit larger or yeah, just fiddle around with the scale of the actual thing. So we'd want him to be maybe probably about 20% higher, so we sort of want him to come up to maybe here in head height, somewhere around there. I think that might end up being a little bit better as far as everything else goes, but as you can see, we've got a basic environment. The lighting's not the best. We haven't set up the proper lighting on it. That's perfectly fine. We haven't baked any lighting. It's going to take way too long, so we'll leave that till later. Alright, so now we've got that. One thing I want to do now is actually I'm going to go back in, because we're going to be playing around with the characters. Now that I've built that character, if I don't have it in there, it's going to cause me errors when I try and play again. So I'm just going to go server and play, and I'm going to delete that so it's not on our list. Now it does still save to the database, so I'd have to actually wipe the database to use that name again, but there's, for the rest of it, there's no character there. So what we might do is I'm just going to change the way this alchemist looks. So here we go, we've got our alchemist here, and we've got the 3D model. This one's actually really simple because it is just replacing a 3D model. You don't have to do any of the other stuff because he's going to stay the same. So I'm just going to find a model that I want to use. What can I use? We've got a couple of males here. What's common? No, that's just terrain. So yeah, we've got a prefab Helm C. Oh, I'm gonna have to go back to inspector. So there you go. These ones here have a few different builds. So we got them with a couple of different types. That's going to be our basic one. So maybe we want to give him something that we don't have, or we can have a look at fantasy creatures, living dead, fantasy villains, kobold, goblins, cyclops, troll, mythical creatures, animals. Oh, okay, my time's up, so dinner's in the oven. I'm just going to